Scandals and allegations, sometimes charges, sometimes resignations. Convictions and jail time, almost non-existent. That's our reality check of corrupt politicians in the Caribbean. So what makes us unable to successfully prosecute government corruption, as the U.S. was able to do with former New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin in the first part of our special report? 18 Degrees North decided to find out.
The FBI, the DEA, and any other kind of A you have can't stop them coming into airfields in Florida. You expect my little country, me, with 200,000 people, to be able to do what you can't do in this big country? You all got to be crazy.
This is the late Bahamian Prime Minister Lyndon Pindling on NBC after the U.S. TV network reported in 1983 he accepted bribes from Colombians to use his country as a transit point for cocaine to the United States.
I would step down as Prime Minister as soon as a new leader had been elected.
This is Jamaica's former Prime Minister, Bruce Golding, who was found to have been helping fight the extradition to the U.S. of a known drug lord, Christopher Dudas Coke. Pindling denied the allegations, and years later, the international airport was named in his honor. Golding fessed up, but felt his actions were warranted. In the Caribbean, convictions for public officials embroiled in questionable politics are historically rare. In fact, in Jamaica, since independence from the British in 1962, only one politician, Jack Smith, has ever been convicted and spent time in prison. Jamaica's National Security Minister, Peter Bunting, is hoping to change that with the recent strengthening of the major organized crime and anti-corruption agency.
We have brought charges literally every month against some group. Persons from literally every area, from the police force to the tax department to the motor vehicle examination, politicians, you name it.
But even he admits convictions may be hard to come by.
We have a very slow justice system. We have cases, serious cases, that typically spend years in the court system. And that is a frustration for us, I think, as much as it is for the public.
Investigating and prosecuting former New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin was also slow, lasting at least 5 years. Making the difference, the FBI taking the lead over local investigators who were seen as more conflicted, the public who grew angrier after Hurricane Katrina and ratted out corrupt officials, and the media who wrote dozens of investigative articles for years.
This was a classic example of this. You write one story and then people call you and say, oh, well, you didn't get the whole story and you need to look at this.
It was also important whistleblowers felt safe.
They will not come to the prosecutors. They will not come to a police officer. They feel comfortable coming to the media because they know they'll be protected. They are as essential to eliminating corruption as are the federal prosecutors.
Like New Orleanians, most Jamaicans out of fear do not report wrongdoing or inform, as the practice is locally known. This documentary by anti-corruption non-profit National Integrity Action shows why.
You can't point on a leader, because you're going to say it's liable, you're going to get charged for libel. If you point on them and say, you used to give me a gun, you're going to say, you have any evidence of that? You can't prove it. So right away you're going to prison. You see who are going to prison are the victim of the prison.
People also fear going to the police, as criminals have funded politicians, and many believe politicians control the police. It's one reason some say criminals like drug lord Christopher Coke and Ponzi schemer David Smith were able to roam freely in Jamaica, while overseas they're now behind bars.
Could there be a relationship between those political donations and the fact that Smith was never prosecuted in Jamaica, despite the fact that Jamaicans were the main victims of his criminal activity?
While there's still limited disclosure for campaign finances, there have been efforts to tackle corruption, including a tip line, freer access to information, moves to establish a single anti-corruption agency, and requirements for public officials to report their assets. But there are weaknesses. Even when asset disclosures are made, they're revealed to a commission, not the media or general public. And at least one international consultant to the Jamaican government says that's defeating the purpose.
I should be able to walk into the office and get a copy of the form and walk out with it. If I'm a public servant, my superior or others can see where my potential conflicts of interest lie. And because they know where they lie, and I know that they know where they lie, I will avoid engaging those conflicts of interest.
Until Jamaica can become more open, it may continue to rank low on Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, along with other Caribbean countries like Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Haiti. In the meantime, Davey says prevention is key, and Jamaica should establish a national ethics agency to help keep politicians honest.
The vast majority of public officials are honest and want to do the right thing. So the question is, what are you doing for those public officials to keep them honest? What are you doing to give them guidance so that they know what they can do and what they can't do?
Political observers in New Orleans say that's the same trap former Mayor Ray Nagin fell into.
I do think that he was extremely naive in understanding how politics work coming from the business sector.
I don't think Ray Nagin is a bad man, but I do think he's a weak man.
Despite the best intentions, politics can widen the cracks in one's character. Staying strong, whether in New Orleans or in Jamaica, is the ultimate challenge.
People will ask you for anything. You have to have the courage to tell them no, and you have to realize that telling people yes is not how you get elected. It's doing the right thing.
Coming up on 18 Degrees North, how did you spend your pocket money when you were a teen? Clothes, parties, maybe going to the movies.
Most teenagers have $10 to put phone in their credit and they blow it out maybe in one night or one weekend. And it's just $1 more, and from that changed our lives from there on.
Well, when we come back after the break, we're going to bring you the story of how one Caribbean teen turned $11 into a growing business that supports his family today. That's next on 18 Degrees North.